Okay, we are here to answer your questions. Please write your question in the comment if you have any. Waiting for more people to join so that we are going to start with your questions. There's a lot happening in the e-commerce world. There's a lot happening in our community. We want to help you develop your business. We want you to make business in the proper way. We can help you in a lot of subjects related to e-commerce in general. We have competence about e-commerce. We have competence about Spotify, Amazon, eBay. We are selling on Amazon since several years. We are specialized in Europe, and we are here to answer your question that you might have on the e-commerce reality. So please don't be shy, write them in the comments. I don't know if you are already selling. If you're already selling, you might have noticed that coronavirus is almost over from an e-commerce point of view. So all shops in Europe have started their activity. Amazon is back up and running. You can ship whatever you want now to Amazon. They will take care of it via Amazon FBA. So the community of the e-commerce is totally back to normal. A lot of interesting news are coming. I'm curious to see how the Amazon reality is going to change in this next future. If they're going to introduce some more strict rules regarding counterfeits. Counterfeits, apparently, it's a very hot topic in the Amazon reality. And so we are waiting with impatience about upcoming news coming from the Amazon domain regarding fight against the counterfeits and how Amazon will enforce new regulations that are going to prevent sellers to offer to their customer and to Amazon customer counterfeit products. So I see that new people are joining. Please don't be shy. Write your question in the comments. We're going to take them. We want to help you solve your questions that you might have in the e-commerce domain. We want to have you up and running with your business. We want to help you getting unblocked. Oh, Harry is coming back.
Hey, Marco.
Hello again, hello again. Showing stream logo. I'm back in the stream as well. So what kind of news are hot on Amazon? What do you think, Harry?
Some interesting stuff. First of all, so the few things that we should talk about. First of all, Amazon is still limiting incoming merchandise. So if you have large amount of merchandise, you are limited to how much you can ship, and that depends on your sales velocity. So if you have, I think it limits you to say a month worth of stock. So how much ever you sell in a month, that's how much you can ship in.
Yeah. But there are no limitations regarding product category, right? Not anymore, to my knowledge. It's just about quantity.
No, I didn't run into any limitation in terms of product category. There might be. Have you run into anything?
No. All my categories have been unblocked. I can create shipments for any category now, but definitely there is this additional limitation regarding quantity.
Right.
That's my only.
Right, and the other thing is we've been warning users and students alike to stay away from anything that has to do with masks or sanitary gel or anything that has to do with COVID-19. That's a very great and fast way to have your account suspended by Amazon.
Yeah.
So you have things like product. You have account suspensions because of price gouging, because of regulatory issues, and let me see. So yeah, so price gouging, regulatory issues. That's the main thing. So just like stay away from it unless you really know what you're doing and you've been in the business of selling masks before. Then just really stay away from it. You just don't want to.
What I've noticed recently, I don't know if it's related to this pandemic emergency or not, is an increase in terms of regulated brands. So what I've noticed is that more and more popular brands are getting somehow limited on Amazon, and you need to request approval, especially technology ones. Philips, which one was the other one? Canon, HP, Samsung, some products are limited. By the way, hello, Henrik. Welcome in the chat. Feel free to write your question in the comments. We are talking about news and popular trend news regarding the Amazon world. So we were talking about the fact that Amazon is limited from a shipments point of view, and more categories, more and more brands are getting somehow gated for new sellers. So there is a way out. There's always the possibility to get ungated, but you need to be aware that more and more categories are going to require this process in order to allow new sellers to sell their products. Some popular brands that are getting limited are Samsung, Logitech, Philips, Sony in certain countries. Oh, okay, so I see that Henrik is already starting asking questions. Please shout your questions.
Before that, I have one just follow-up question on what you just said. Is there a situation where you're grandfathered in? So if you have in the past sold already these brands, are you grandfathered in, or it doesn't matter? You still have to go through the whole ungating process.
From what I've seen, if you already have products that are selling and listing active, then you're not limited to sell them. But if you try to create a listing for the same brand that now is gated, you will going to be asked to provide ungating documents.
Okay. So there's no grandfathered in.
No. But you're not going to be blocked to sell products that you're already selling. That's my current analysis.
So yeah, go ahead, jump in, just write your questions in the comments, and we'll address them.
Looking forward to read your questions, Eric. Please write them in the comments. We are here to help you today. Don't be shy.
Obviously, there's a long delay between.
Yeah, I think we are not in sync with the chat, so we need to wait a few seconds in order for the questions to appear. Let's wait for Eric to write. Okay. Can you hear us, Eric, by the way? Is everything working on your side from a video, audio point of view? If you can confirm, that's great, so that we know that at least we are not talking just to each other, but also to our community. I see that more and more people are joining live, so please introduce yourself in the chat, write your question. Okay, see that Eric started writing your question, some questions. So, regarding account curation, what is the benefit of having an old account versus a new account, and having an account with many products and only few products?
Yeah, Marco, you want to take that?
Yeah, I can take that. So old accounts, and by old I mean usually more than 2 years old, they are somehow facilitated. They've been facilitated in terms of accessing certain products and being able to sell certain products that now today are gated. So there are certain categories and certain brands that now today are limited, while 2 years ago they were completely open to anybody. So all the accounts, if they applied in that period to sell these kind of products, if they've been selling these kind of products, today they are benefiting of this advantage, and they can sell a lot more products without having to provide any kind of authorization or documentation. So that's the advantage that a lot of people talk about when talking about old account. On top of that, there is also another advantage. An old account is less likely to get suspended if starts generating a lot of sales all of a sudden. So maybe you have an old account that is on hold, and you start selling, you start shipping them a lot of products, and these products start selling very fast. There is a very little chance that Amazon is going to investigate and to audit the reason why this account is selling so fast. While with new accounts, if you open an account, a brand new account, you ship in and you start selling extremely fast, or you start getting a lot of reviews, or the activities in your account are booming all of a sudden, there is a very good chance that Amazon is going to come and audit you. While with all accounts, the assumption is that you're an experienced seller, so you don't need to be monitored or checked for this kind of operation. So there is a very severe enforcement from an Amazon point of view to get rid of fake accounts that are there just to manipulate sales or to play with reviews. So they really enforced a strict policy against fake accounts. This means that they're going to check the new accounts more often than the old ones. So if you have an old account, you're definitely safer from an auditing point of view from an Amazon side. This doesn't mean that with a new account you can do fast selling, but probably you're going to be temporarily suspended if your activities are too intense and too fast, while Amazon makes their own verification. So you have to send in some documents that you have a regular company, that you can actually sell in Europe or wherever your account is. So you need to go through a series of additional checks that are not requested by sellers that are owning an old account. That, to my knowledge, is the main reason for people to be interested in even buying old accounts. So there is a hidden market that is completely forbidden from an Amazon point of view, but I know that it exists, of sellers that are selling and buying old Amazon accounts because they have ungated categories, because they don't get audited when they start making some trick operations. So in general, buying and selling accounts is a completely forbidden operation from an Amazon TOC, TOS. So you should stay away from that. Having said that, there is a very active marketplace for old Amazon accounts, because definitely there are advantages, especially if you plan to do some aggressive strategies that are definitely going to trigger an audit from an Amazon point of view that can freeze your account for a while. But I repeat, if you have all the documentation in place, if your company is 100% real and you can prove it, you should not be afraid of opening a new account instead of using an old account and trying to bypass these kind of checks.
Yes.
Do you have anything to add, Adi?
Yes, one thing to add. So when you start on Amazon, you always want to think about exit strategy. So if your account is owned by an SL, by a company, then it's a very easy legal, moral, and non-fattening way to get around that limitation. Because if you sell the company and the company owns the account, As far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Marco, but that's not a problem. So when you're getting into Amazon, always think of exit strategy. And one of the ways to make sure that you have an easy exit strategy is that it's easy to sell. So if you set up the company sets up the account, and you sell the company, there's absolutely no problem in that. And Amazon obviously has no problem with that because the owner of the account is the company, and the owner of the account is the judge.
But in this case, you don't have a change of ownership of the account. You have a change of ownership of the whole company. So the company brings with it the account, and that's perfectly legal. What's forbidden by Amazon TOS is transferring accounts to different entities, or at least they try to limit as much as possible, and they try to make it as hard as possible.
Right. You might there's a company that sorry to maybe this is a rat hole, but there's a company called Empire Flippers that I'm familiar with, and if you want to go there and see what your company is worth or what the company might be worth in the future, it's a fun exercise to play because you can go in there and you can plug in your numbers, and you can see that they'll ask you very good questions. Like, for instance, how much of your time are you spending on the account? So when people buy a business, they want to buy a business. They don't want to buy a job, a 9-to-5 job. So if you go in there and you say, okay, it takes me, I'm making, 100,000 a year, but it takes me, 10 hours a day, then, that's one thing. But if you're making 100,000 a year, but you're working 4 hours a week, then that's a totally different thing. And the valuation of your business when you exit is going to be appropriately set.
Mm-hmm. I see that Eric asked more questions. I managed to find a way to prompt them in the interface so that everybody can read them. So are you talking about gated brands or categories? Regarding the old accounts, most of the limitations that you'll have with the new accounts are referring to categories. But indeed, also some brands were not gated 2 years ago, and now they are. But from what I see from the results that we are getting with our accounts, even if you were allowed to sell a certain product in the past, now you're going to be required to provide evidence that you are an authorized reseller for a certain brand. Let's say that you want to sell HP products on Amazon. 2 years ago, it was not required you to have any kind of authorization. Now you have. So this means that from what we see from our accounts, all these products that we have been selling so far, they can still be sold on Amazon. But if you want to list a new product having HP as a brand, you need to get through the ungating procedure. Even if you have been selling HP products on Amazon so far. While for categories is a different story. So if you're engaged in a certain category, then you cannot be gated again. For brands, yes. For categories, no. So an advantage of having an old account is for having access to more categories, but not to more brands. Then I hope, please, Enrique, let us know if we are not complete with our answer, so we can continue in the details. So please don't hesitate if you want to have more details about what we are already said. So let's pick the next question. You recommend to have one account per product category. It depends on the kind of business. What do you think, Harry?
Good question. I don't have that much experience. What about the amount volumes? Talking about what? So what about the amount volume sales? Does that help with new listings?
No. Do you recommend to have one account per product category? The question that is on screen now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So one account per, no, that's not necessarily so. It depends. Obviously, it depends how disparate they are. If you're selling, for instance, say toys and hardware, I don't see that as a problem. But you might, if you're selling, sports equipment, I don't know, maybe I don't think it's a problem at all. It just really depends on what kind of what kind of image, and you're afraid of the image. But people don't go into. I mean, it's very, very few. Maybe 1% of the clients are going to go in there and see that you're in multiple categories. So I don't see it diluting your brand a lot.
The suggestion I read about this subject were mostly targeting private label accounts, because with online arbitrage there is no need, absolutely. You don't want to scatter your listings. You want to have everything under the same roof. And if you're getting suspended, you definitely need to have a backup plan for the whole business and not for a specific category. While for private label, you might want to consider a more structured solution, because you might start different brands. So your company might handle different brands in different categories. So if a certain brand in a certain category gets suspended, or it gets filed for intellectual property, or for whichever reason they shut down your account, you might want to have a backup plan with another account to manage the other brands. That's the only, let's say, suggestion that I've seen regarding this subject coming from the Amazon reality. For the rest, if you go and read the Amazon terms of services, they discourage you to have more than one account. So by definition, you should not have more than one account related to the same entity, a company, a person, or whatever. There's always an exception, so you can negotiate, you can talk to Amazon to understand the reason for opening a new account, and they can allow you to do that, but it's definitely not something usual. So you should not plan that ahead and open a different account for each category for every kind of Amazon business that you have. So you need to have a very strong reason to do that, and you need to justify that properly when doing this upfront. So I would never open a new account without consulting with Amazon and having something unwritten in order to have a clear the agreement with Amazon that this is not a problem for them. But in general, it really depends on the kind of business that you want to carry on, and if a part of your business can compromise another part of your business. If you just want to have a different account, an empty account as a backup plan, don't do that. It's too dangerous, and Amazon is going to suspend them both. If you're doing a category segmentation, if you're a private label company, this can be an interesting strategy to evaluate, and Amazon is probably going to authorize you with that. Let's jump into the question. So what about the amount volumes of sale? Does this help new listings? Regarding the old accounts, to my experience, no.
Yeah,
so the only thing that really helps sales is BSR for that product, and in general, very marginally, but definitely not to be discarded, your positive feedback rate. If your account is crap, so if you have a 50% negative feedback rate, and if you're lucky enough not to get suspended right away from by Amazon, your feedback percentage, your feedback positive rate is impacting marginally your buy box eligibility ratio, but not your sales velocity. So the sales volume of a certain product are not impacted by the quality of the account. If you are sharing the buy box with more sellers for the same product, then your seller feedback and the overall quality of your account might be relevant to have a bigger share of the buy box in terms of number of times that is assigned to you. But regarding the sales for a certain product, your feedback and your seniority of your account is never taken into account for calculating how often Amazon is going to display it in the search result. It's all about the product. Do you agree, Ari? Do you have the same information?
I have nothing to add. I completely agree.
Okay, let's see if more questions are coming. Please, Eric, don't hesitate if you need more clarification on the question or if you have more questions. I see that more people have joined the streaming. Please write your question in the comment if you want, so that we can answer it. Let's try to show it again. Okay. I start liking this streaming platform. I can do cool things as a graphical interface.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just waiting for them to implement the virtual background.
The virtual background, yes.
Yeah.
It's, let's see if anybody else is joining us. Okay. Have you heard anything about? Yeah, Eric shot another question. It's been very difficult to do product. I'm going to probably. This is a long one. It's very difficult to do product discovery research lately, but I finally found a new product what I'm willing to take a chance on. I've initiated the sourcing for suppliers. Really appreciate your help. These are, okay, there is a series of questions.
Okay, let me attack. Let me see the best I can do. So
yeah. So
number one, how do I know if the supplier who claims he's a manufacturer really is a legit manufacturer and not just a trade trade or some type of scam? Okay, so here's the thing. When I first started working on my private label brand, I actually worked with a trading company and not with a manufacturer, and I didn't even know it. And the only way I found out is when I wasn't completely happy with them and looked for other providers. I contacted many people, and one of the people I contacted was actually the original manufacturer, and they showed me a picture of my product that they manufactured and said we're actually the original manufacturer. So obviously it's not a great relationship if your supplier is lying to you. That's not a great basis for any relationship. But I have to say that it was still okay to work with them. Obviously, I got better margins directly from the manufacturer. But if you're working for the trading agent, sometimes trading agents have advantage over factories, which is a lot of times they speak better English. They have sometimes more access to shipping. They have, they're used to working with foreigners. So sometimes it's better. Now, if you really want to make sure that you're not working with an agent, then ask for a virtual tour of the factory, right? Ask them to get up from their chair and walk around and show them to show you that where the actual manufacturing is, right, in real time, and then you can obviously take a look at their address, go to Google Earth, and see if the address looks like a factory or looks like an office somewhere in Shenzhen. So that's just basic sleuth kind of type of activities that you can do in order to find out if it's a manufacturer. Now, the only reason I would really worry about that is that if you know the price and you get a price from the trading agent and you come with a manufacturer, you know already that you can get a better price directly from the manufacturer. So that is valuable. Okay, how much should I pay for a sample, and how many samples should I ask for the first time? Okay, so let me go one at a time. You will expect to pay a lot. Don't expect to pay wholesale prices. You will expect to pay retail, sometimes even more than retail, and that's fine. They want to see that you're serious. They want to see that you're not just some guy who just wants a free sample of the product. So they'll expect you to pay. You're going to pay for express. So So just for the express, you might pay, maybe even up to $200 just to get the samples. I would get as many samples as possible. If you can get 10 samples, that's great, because that means that you can take these samples and you can turn around and sell them and do a small market test based on what you buy. So that's kind of helpful. Whenever I can do that, because the extra cost, and you tell them that. You say, listen, I want, well, don't tell them exactly that. But you can say, listen, I want 10 because I want to give it to a few clients to test, and that will enable you to do a market testing as well as examine the product. Now, of course, expect to pay more. So if the product turns to be shit, then you just pay 10 products that are all just directly to the garbage. So that's a risk you have to take. I think it's a risk worth taking because it will save you maybe a month of market research and scratching your head whether this thing will sell or you can sell it on Amazon or not. Okay, let's say that normal unit price is $5 when I order the MOQ. Would it be normal for me to have to pay up to $100 per sample plus shipping? Yes, absolutely. I answered that. That's perfectly normal. Should I ask the supplier to include my product modifications and or branding on the sample, or is this something I would ask for once I've seen the quality of the shelf sample? Okay, I think both approaches are reasonable. I prefer to have all of the customization up front and pay for the customization because for me, the most important resource is time. So if I get a product and I like it, and after that I have to wait another month to get the product customized, then I lost a month. So I'd rather pay whatever it is for mold, or you have to pay for printing, you have to pay maybe $50 extra. Who cares? $50 extra to save a month of work. I would definitely do that. So the answer is yes, absolutely. Get the customization upfront as much as you can think of, because in a lot of situations, you're going to iterate on the product. When you get a product, you're not going to like the way it is. You're going to want to change it. Might as well change it to begin with and save yourself an iteration. Okay. Would you request a second set of samples once the product modifications have been agreed on? Yes, absolutely. It's the same as software. You have to ship the product exactly that you got the sample of. Now, there's still going to be differences because a lot of times the process of manufacturing the sample is separate from the product. Like, for instance, if it requires sewing, a lot of times the sewing is done by hand, whereas the mass-produced product is done by a machine. But there's nothing you can do about that. You kind of have to take the risk, but absolutely do not order mass product unless you already held the customized product in your hand beforehand. Right? 5. Do you agree on price for the MOQ and quantities before you get the samples, or is it better to negotiate this after? Yeah, I think it's best to agree beforehand because they will want to be I would ask for, say, a range of quantities. What's the price between, say, 100 and 500, 1,000 to 1,000, and this way it will drive the price down. It will make them want to be more competitive up front. Whereas if you do it the second time, then the price for larger quantities is going to be not a lot lower than the price for smaller quantities. That's just human nature. That's what I would think. But that's negotiations is a whole art form. Okay, we're up to 6. How do I agree a long-term price with a supplier? How do I avoid that to start increasing the price once my listing starts getting traction? Well, you better hope that these people have competition, and you better make sure that when you order a product, you don't contact one manufacturer, but you contact maybe 10 manufacturers. So the best way to do that is making sure that they have competition. I have always when I do a new order, and let's say not always, but almost always when I do an order, and absolutely always when my quantity goes up. So when I go from 500 to 1,000, I ask for renegotiate. Chinese are very familiar with renegotiation. So they won't be insulted. They won't say, "Oh, but we already negotiated." They say, "Listen, it's a second order. I'm ordering more. I want a better price. I know we spoke about 10, but I want it for 8, and that's fine." I've never run into a situation where a manufacturer asks for a higher price, but I have limited. I only had so many transactions, but in transactions I had that hasn't been a problem. But for sure, the way to avoid it is to make sure that you have multiple options, that you can walk away, and that you have other manufacturers that can manufacture the same product. And it's always good, even if you're manufacturing and you're happy with the manufacturer, to have some of it manufactured in a different manufacturer. Probably a good place to point out that you should never ever manufacture without having a third-party company that does quality control. So these are companies that you pay between 100 and 300 euros in order for a day of manufacturing to go in there and do QC. So that's something that you haven't asked, but I think it's a good thing to look at. Is there any contractual way to hinder the supplier to sell my improved design to other buyers? You have a brand. They cannot sell your brand. Your protection is the brand. If you, especially if you're brand registered, but they can't go in there and start selling. So make sure that you have on my products the logo is featured very prominently. So and I am sure to get brand registration on any product that I sell. So your best protection is the fact that you are the brand owner, and obviously after a while you're going to have reviews. It's going to be very, very hard for them. They can go and they compete with you with a product with a different brand, but not with the same brand. And I think that's the best protection you can have. In terms of contractually, I would think that unless you are willing to go and sue these people in China, which hint, you are not, then don't worry about it. Because, I mean, yes, you can get them to sign a contract. Theoretically, you can sue them, but practically going through legal battles in China is very difficult. I mean, it's been done. Actually, I have a friend who's done that. But that's not something that I would rely on. Next question. Is there any contractual way to hinder the supplier to sell my... Oh, sorry. It's very difficult to get a design protected these days. So there must be some way to bind the supplier with a contract, give him some... Okay, yeah, so that's the question I just answered. Great. So, Henrik, is there any terrific follow-on questions from what I answered?
And for all the people who recently joined and they're holding their question, please don't hesitate and write them in the comments, and we're going to take it next. I'm going to restore the title. Here it is. Write your question in the comments. We are having a lot of questions coming from the private label reality. Very complete answer, Ari. I got hypnotized about the length of the explanation, but just because the number of questions were really a lot. So how long have you been selling on Amazon your brand, Ari? Share that with our audience so that they know who are we and what are we doing.
Yes, so I've been selling since the end of 2016. Yeah. What was the other question?
No, just how long have you been selling and with your private label brand?
And as the new markets come online, and I've recently shipped a box to Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the newest, the latest and greatest. That was very, very easy.
How are
So
going sales in the Netherlands? I forgot to ask you. I'm curious. Are you making any sale in the Netherlands?
not that I've looked. I admit that I haven't done a lot of optimization in terms of.
Zero squared or not?
I'm sorry?
Zero squared sales?
Zero squared sales. Yeah, no, I don't. I didn't see a lot of sales in the Netherlands. It's not. I think it's still Netherlands is. I think Amazon
Germany.
There. No. Have you seen any sales in Netherlands?
Actually, I'm not checking. I haven't checked the sales in the Netherlands since quite some time. For online arbitrage, almost nothing, I would say. If there have been very few of them. And in general, they are absorbed by the German marketplace. So people that were in the Netherlands used to go to Amazon.de, they are still going to Amazon.de. They're not used to use Amazon the Netherlands. Plus,
right.
Plus for us, a seller is still quite a limited marketplace. We don't have a Keepa graph for products on the Netherlands. Everything is new, so there are also very few sellers that are focusing their attention on the Netherlands at the moment. But yeah, it's one more marketplace in Europe, one additional opportunity for sellers to reach out a bigger set of clients. I see that a new question from Eric appear in the chat. Maybe you want to take it as well, Ari, to show that screen. The actual form design of the product is never protected. That's the question from Eric.
So to be perfectly frank, I try not to worry about that because I think if I run into a situation where I have to hire a lawyer, that might be. I mean, hiring a lawyer, especially in the United States, is extremely expensive, and I would try to avoid it. Your protection on Amazon, you have a lot of protection on Amazon, especially if you have IP like form and design. And if somebody violates your form and design, you can put a claim on Amazon. Amazon is aggressive about protecting IP. So that would be your protection. So probably going through Amazon. I actually was on the other side. So I sold a product which started to sell very well. And then another seller complained that I was violating their IP and my listings were suspended. So Amazon can do that. So the short answer is yes, Amazon protects you.
And how difficult it is to enforce your rights as a brand owner?
It's you have to submit the documents and you have to do it. It's not very, very difficult, but there's a process in there, and that's the good news.
And
the bad news gets abused. Bad news is there are many bad actors on the Amazon platform that submit false IP violation claims, and then it's just bad luck. And then you really have to talk to a lawyer or decide that it's not a fight that you want to have.
And you don't need a seller account to submit a violation. So any random Amazon client can do that. So it's very easy to create a fake account with no credential, nothing, and just open up IP violation cases against a certain brand. But then. But I've heard that Amazon is spending quite a lot in order to enforce the counterfeit regulations and to introduce more severe rules on Amazon, both protecting sellers and customers. So that's also the reason why it's more and more difficult to have totally ungated and free to sell new accounts, and probably in the near future. All the fashioned accounts are going to be even more valuable for starting selling on Amazon. Amazon is really enforcing new rules to prevent fake entities and companies to register and to start selling or submitting violations. I was reading that a lot of Chinese company are trying to massively sabotage other sellers on Amazon everywhere. And now the big problem is still on the US, but you know, Amazon US is just 6 months or maybe 1 year in advance in respect of Europe. So all these problems are definitely going to hit also the Amazon marketplace in Europe very soon. But yeah, I'm sure that Jeff is already thinking about solution. And they've enforced the regulation against fake reviews. So they're getting more and more strict. There are more and more controls. So the expectation is that also brand protection and fight against counterfeits is going to be enforced quite a lot in the coming period, both protecting the customer and the sellers, actually, the legitimate sellers. So let's store the original banner. We have had quite an interesting session today. Very clever questions, very specific questions that allowed us to deliver some interesting value. Okay, I'm just checking if there are other questions coming. Please don't be shy. If you have other questions, write them in the comment. So what do you think is going to be hot in the coming period from an e-commerce point of view, Ari? What's going to be the next big trend in the e-commerce community?
I don't see anything especially changing in the near future. Obviously, short-term things related to COVID, but that's not something I would recommend going into. I don't see anything new. What do you think?
I don't know. So definitely the relationship between United States and China are getting more spiky, more aggressive. So I'm afraid that we're going to see some consequence in the Amazon reality for all those businesses that are based on that base their business in manufacturing in China. So you might start seeing other countries to rise and to start being seen as interesting from a manufacturing point of view. I'm afraid, but also curious that this is going to be the next big thing in the commerce reality. Let's see. Nothing is still defined. Let's see what the orange guy is going to do in order to let's say change the market dynamics against China. And on top of that, also AliExpress and Alibaba are moving international. So it's true also the other way around. So Amazon is going to have some tough competitor coming from China right away. So all these Chinese sellers that now are forced to sell on Amazon, they're going to have plenty of opportunity to reach out European and American customers right from the Alibaba and AliExpress platform, without having to migrate their products to a different marketplace. This is going to be interesting as well, I think. I don't see any other question coming. Eric just asked another question. Let's show it on screen. Can I sell alcohol on Amazon? In theory, yes, but you need to be approved. It's not it's not an easy category to get approved into. It's like it's very similar to groceries. And on top of that, most of the alcohol products, they have an hazmat limitation because of less flammable products. So the answer is yes, but you need to get approved. And you need to prove to Amazon that you know how to handle groceries and that's not as easy as one might think. And on top of that, you need to have approval from Amazon in order to handle hazmat products, and also that you cannot just apply and get approved. There is a more complex, let's call it like that, approach, and you cannot apply for selling hazmat products. You need to be invited, and after you get invited, you need to be accepted by having very good seller performances in your account. So in order to start selling alcohol, you need to get you need to let's say you need to have first of all a seasoned account, and we are coming back to the old account advantages. And on top of that, you need to be invited by Amazon. For hazmat product, the shortest path in order to get an invitation is to start selling hazmat products without FBA. So if you fulfill by merchant, so if you fulfill by your own mean hazmat products, then you're definitely in a very good position in order for getting invited by Amazon to sell the same products FBA. Regarding groceries, it's slightly more difficult because you definitely need to reach bigger volumes in order to be allowed to sell groceries. The risk here is that with groceries, with everything that is can be dangerous for the body, Amazon is very careful. So if you have a stock of food and you don't process it correctly, for example, you leave it under the sun for hours, it gets wasted, and you cannot, in theory, you cannot sell it anymore. So Amazon wants to be sure that you're not that kind of seller, so that you're a professional grocery seller that is aware of all these food regulations and is going to have is actually having a process in place to manage groceries and food in the right way. Actually, this is not as easy as one might think, because there are a lot of regulations in the food industry, and all these food sellers are, especially offline shops, they have to comply with a lot of regulations in Europe in order to sell groceries. And the same thing applies on Amazon. So Amazon wants to be sure that you are definitely capable of selling these kind of products. And this is accomplished by limiting these products to only sellers that have been proven to have very good performances in selling other products or the same products, but not via FBA. I hope. We have a question from Hector. Let's display the question from Hector. Do you think selling oversized product on online arbitrage is worth? Maybe because there's less competition, although the prices of storage and sending are higher. I'm gonna take this if you don't mind, Ari.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oversized products are definitely a very interesting category. The only difference in respect of standard size is the intrinsic higher cost of manipulating them. As long as your calculation is correct, as long as your profit, as long as the value that you introduce in your profit calculation is taking into account these additional costs, selling oversized products is perfectly fine. They are definitely going to be more difficult to manipulate from your point of view, and from Amazon point of view. Amazon is going to charge you more. You're going to spend more time, and you're going to use more boxes to ship the same amount of products if they are oversized to Amazon. But as long as you make your calculation right, as long as you take into account all these additional costs that oversized products are bringing them, it's perfectly fine to sell oversized products. We have been selling oversized products. We have no problem with that. We try to stay away from real oversized products like wood cabins or refrigerators. These products, they really have massive weight, and they are very, very difficult to ship on Amazon. And Amazon is going to charge you a lot in order to store them and to ship them to the final customer. So you need to be very careful by making the calculation right with these products. And we, as sellers, we prefer to stay away from them. But in general, small oversized products up to 5 kilos are still relatively easy to manage. And if you do your calculation right, they can be profitable as well. I hope I answered your question, Hector. If not, please write it in the comment, and I'm going to try to explain it even better. So Eric made a follow-up question. If you want to take on it, Harry, maybe. Let's say I have my own wine brand. What do you think? It's a follow-up question of the previous one.
So again, anything that goes on your body or inside your body is high risk. So unless you are a supermarket or unless you're a provider and you have all of the certification and all of the stuff like that, I don't know if it's the best thing to go into out of the bag. Now, having said that, if you do manage to do it and you do manage to get all of the certification and jump through all of the hoops, then you're going to have an advantage because people are going to have a hard time competing with you. But it's the same. Everything that Marco said before goes to your own brand of wine or any other. You're still going to be asked for the same certifications and same everything, and that's there's no getting around that.
Mm-hmm. Do you know anybody who's selling wine on Amazon?
I do not.
No, me neither. I'm curious. I see a lot of multi-packs for wine on as listings. So wine bottles are sold more in crates, 6 or 4 or even 2, and rarely they are sold as one bottle. But indeed, the market is growing, I think, on Amazon regarding wine. It's quite an interesting one. Here in Europe, I'm not sure if people are still. Let's say the whole grocery category in Europe is far away from what's the reality in the United States. So the amount of sales that are generated on Amazon related to the grocery category are really small compared to what's happening in the United States. Having said that, wine is a very special grocery category because it's more brand oriented, and it's growing. I can see that it's growing. But yeah, we don't have a lot of experience in selling wine, or we don't know, and we don't even know anybody who's actually selling wine that can provide a more in-depth insight on this subject, unfortunately. Okay. I don't see any other question coming. I will give people a few more minutes to write their question if they want to get some additional answer regarding the e-commerce reality, Amazon, eBay, Shopify. Otherwise, we call it a day, and we are going to be back next week at 7 p.m. Spanish time to answer your question.
Very good.
Today we delivered quite a lot of value. We had very interesting questions coming along. Everything is in the comment. We're going to keep the live stream available on Facebook if you want to watch and rewatch it. So don't be afraid to come again next week and to ask your questions. We are here to answer them.
Excellent. So I think this is a great place to end. And thank you very much, Marco.
Thank you, Ari, as well.
And we'll see you next week.
And thanks to our audience who participated today. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.